Simple Plan, The Kids in the Crowd is now streaming on Amazon Prime, and we're talking to Chuck from the band. Chuck, say hi to Montreal, where it all began.
Yeah, hey, what's up? How you doing, man? Good to see you.
You too. It looks like you're in our beautiful city as we speak, right? Chilling in the
I
backyard.
am back home, back in my parents' house where the band all started. So I figured, if we're gonna talk about the documentary, we have to go back to where it all began.
Has that basement changed at all?
Not that much, honestly. We actually, we had to recreate it for the movie because there's a scene where we go back in the basement and literally, like, all I had to do was put up these like old posters from back in the day, and everything else was exactly the same. So yeah, it was like it's stood, it's kind of like stuck in time.
What was that like to go back to those days when you guys were you were 13 in your basement and jamming and putting the band together, and you had a teacher that said that you guys should become a band. What was it like to kind of recount all those memories and bring it up again?
It was a bit overwhelming, but more importantly than anything, just emotional. We were not really good as a band and as people to like take stock into like, what you've done, what you've achieved. But when you reach that, it's like our 25th anniversary now as a band. So that milestone, that moment felt appropriate to maybe like, hey, maybe it would be good to kind of slow down and take it all in and kind of like look back a little bit and celebrate because we're not great at that. We're always on to the next thing, right? Like you do something and then it feels like the goalposts are always sort of pushed back further. And it's like, okay, we've done this already, whatever. And what's next? So to kind of dive back into the past and look at everything that the whole journey and everything we've done and the ups and the downs and the struggles and it was really emotional and it made me realize just how lucky and privileged we've been, but also like how there was a lot of grit and there was a lot of like we were like these scrappy little kids that just wanted it so badly. We were willing to do almost anything, and I think that was really cool to revisit that and see like yeah, there was a lot of like resilience, in that band.
I was going to ask when you mentioned the grit and in the documentary, there's a lot of highs and there's a lot of lows. Was it the grit and the lows and the resilience that made you guys who you are today?
I think so, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Yeah, I really feel like that was a huge part of the story, like I think it could have if it would have been like if we would have been different, I think that we probably would have given up maybe earlier or would have said like, you know what, it's not gonna happen. But there's something about you know, I don't know, our personalities or our character, our values or something where we're just not like that. We're just not built like that. And I think it's a huge part of the story, like that resilience. It saved us many times, and I think that there was just this ambition, this drive that I would say, like, particularly with me, that I have inside me. I'm not the most talented musician. I'm not like there's people that can play so much better than I can. But the one thing that I have is that I wanted it so badly. And for me, there was no alternative scenario. There was no plan B, backup plan, whatever it was. We were gonna be in a band and it was gonna be successful, and that was gonna be my life. You know what I mean? And wouldn't take no for an answer. I think that was probably the reason why we were able to make it.
I'm looking at you sitting in your backyard at your parents' house, and I'm wondering if there's something back in those days about your community, the Montreal community, your parents, those little things that helped you. When you think back to community, what does that mean to you?
I mean, Montreal shaped us. I mean, Montreal is a huge reason, is a huge part of the DNA of this band. I mean, only for the like, it's really funny like when you read about people and what they become, where they're from, like their whole like origin story, a lot of time like the location of where they're born, what that it has a huge influence. Montreal for us, like musically, was the best place we could have been in the entire world. Like, pop punk was massive in Montreal when I was exactly the perfect time. Like I was 14, 13, 14, 15 years old. there was shows every night. It was hugely popular compared to the rest of the North America and the world. It was the mecca of punk rock here, and we were in the middle of it. We could jump on the train here, and half hour later we were downtown at the Spectrum and at Metropolis, and at Club Soda and all these venues, and it shaped us being in this city, and also being like francophone kids, but growing up on like Californian music, like punk rock and all that, like it put a chip on our shoulders. We were like, this is not gonna stop us. Like it doesn't matter if that's, if like we had to learn English to write songs and we had, but like it wasn't gonna stop us. In fact, I think it made us even more motivated. When you talk about values, and I think the fact that we all met at the same high school, like we randomly picked this high school. It wasn't like in our neighborhoods. We all decided to go there. It was in Pierrefonds, West Island, and we all picked it. The three of like the four of us, we picked it, and it's wild. Like it shaped my life. Something like a decision I made at 12, 13 years old define my entire existence. So it's kind of crazy. And I think the fact that we all knew each other from early teenage years was a huge difference, because we knew who we were, like we knew who each person was, and it wasn't like a surprise, like all of a sudden, like, what's wrong with that guy? Like I never saw that coming. We all had the same kind of background, same kind of value. So that was hugely helpful to keep the band like together, because we all had this common core values that we all kind of shared, and that was huge.
And how did you manage to keep it together for 25 years? Four guys on the road, living probably in close quarters on the bus. And I know that there were some lows, and you allude to it in the documentary on how there was a possibility that you would be out of the band. But how did you guys manage to keep the unit together in a positive way?
Right, right. Well, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to be in a band. It's like you're constantly together, like constantly. There's never any break. It's not like coworkers where you go home at night and you get a break until the next day. I mean, you're literally like sleeping in the same bus. You're waking up. You're always in each other's faces. So I think the big key for me is that we were friends before we were bandmates. And that was a huge difference. Because you could always remember, like, okay, yes, friendships change and evolve and maybe get a little damaged because you have other things you have to worry about. You're in a band, you're making decisions that affects each other's lives and everything. So that makes it tougher. But fundamentally, you know, there's a friendship first. And I think that was important, like being able to communicate, to talk, to figure things out, to be able to lean on each other, like no matter how tough it got, I always have the feeling that if somebody in the band is going through some tough things in his life, he can always call the guys in the band and they will have his back. And I think that's when you have that, it's precious. And you gotta, you don't have, like, as you get older you realize like there's not that many people in your life that you have that kind of relationship with, that you can trust like that. So I think that's been the key, honestly. And also kind of just maturing and realizing that what we've built is precious, like especially now as we see this band getting bigger and than ever. We're having this kind of moment right now, this ascending moment, and it makes you realize, like, man, like not every band, not every artist gets that sort of amazing opportunity to keep doing it for that long.
And
So
it's
I think
crazy
it.
that it's happening again now, right? And suddenly like you said, there's another ascending moment, which I guess there was a bit of a turning point during the "I'm just a kid" TikTok
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah, that was huge for us. I mean, we were sitting at home. It's the pandemic, we're trying to take care of our kids and families, and we're doing like homeschooling, and and it's tough. And all of a sudden we start to hear like about this TikTok thing, and we're like, okay, whatever. We don't have time to deal with that right now.
Right.
And then like a week later it's like, no, no, you should really check it out. And a month later, like, we're kind of ignoring it, and then they're like, no, 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 like seriously, now you need to check it out. And it was blowing up. It was billions of impressions, and that song that had completely tanked on US radio all of a sudden becomes our most streamed song of all time. And everybody from Will Smith to the the Williams sisters to the cast of Friends is doing that challenge, and the song is just like surging. And we had nothing to do with it. It was completely organic. It was all like on social media, and I think that challenge, the reason why it was so big and I think it works so well is that yeah, it's a cool song, it's a cool idea to recreate like these kind of like old pictures, but there's something more profound going on. It's like you're seeing your life pass you by. You're seeing kind of like you're you're seeing that time, and there's old friends and how you're changing, and I don't know. There's something about life in that little 20-second challenge on TikTok. That's kind of profound, and I think it really resonated with people. And then after that, we just went back to touring, and the shows just kept getting bigger. We got to play with, we co-headlined with Sum 41. We went out on tour with Avril and Offspring, and now we have this documentary, and it's a celebration of 25 years. I don't know. It just feels like all these things kind of came together. And then also, of course, there's pop punk just surging in general. Like it's just hot again, and this other thing is, people are getting a bit older and they want to relive some of their youth, and some of the music of their teenage years. And so it's all that is happening at the same time. And it's creating this really, really cool moment that we're just having a lot of fun
So
with,
what kind of fans are you recognizing in the crowd? You said people are getting older. Are you recognizing your older fans and new ones? And I guess it's a mix.
Yeah, it's the craziest thing, man. It's like we always had these hardcore fans that never left us. I mean, they've been with us since day one. We never took no hiatus, no breaks, right? We've always been going. So we had these fans that have been with us for 25 years. Then you get like the people that maybe were there in the beginning, like then they went away, they kind of like, and then all of a sudden they start to come back. And then you get these fans that they have kids now. So now their kids have
They're
been
bringing their
like
kids to the shows.
they've been raised with our music in the house, and now they're fans on their own. And then you get all these kids that maybe they were too young when we came out, and some of them were not even born when the record first came, and all of a sudden like they're discovering this. And it's a little weird to hear it. It makes me feel a bit off sometimes. I'm like, oh my god, you're kidding. But for them, this is classic rock, they call it. They're like, yeah, love Simple Plan, classic rock. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But I guess here we are. So and now with streaming platforms, like you can become a fan in one day. Like literally, you can do a deep dive in the catalog. There's no barrier at all. It's like everything's accessible. All the songs are there. So people are discovering it, and it's been crazy. So you have these young people, these older people. You have this whole mix. These kids. It's been so fun. It's so motivating for a band because now, 25 years into a career, every night we still get to make a first impression on so many people. It's like the first time they ever see us. So it's like, yeah, you get on stage and you want to put on the best show because you know that all these people have never seen you before. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
You were talking about going deep into the catalog. Tell me about those unreleased demos that are coming out.
Yeah. While we were making this documentary, we were looking for all these like, VHS tapes and DVD tapes, and we found like thousands of hours of footage. But we also found this other box, and it had like all these burnt CDs and cassette tapes, and these were like literally the um like the first little recordings that we've ever done as a band. Like we were trying to get signed. We were like literally like recording them in my parents' basement right behind me, and we found that box and we listened and we're like, oh my god, it was so interesting as a like 25, 30 years later, 25 years later, like to listen to that and to be like, oh my god, like to see how naive it all was, and but also how like it was pretty damn good. You know what I mean? Like it was like, oh, and there's some songs that we never released, and we're like, you know what? Like we're doing this documentary, we're doing a deep dive into our history. We're really letting people in because as a band, you're kind of protective, right, of what you put out there, and it's like it only has to be like we've always been like that. Like it has to be the best. That's why we didn't put out those songs. We didn't feel maybe they were at the time good enough, or they didn't beat the other ones. But now that we're showing this sort of like how it was and with the context of the movie, and you really see us like at our early humble beginnings, it felt like, what, let's give our hardcore fans like some stuff they never heard before, something different, something that they can kind of like understand us better. So the idea came like that when we found that box, and it just felt so appropriate with this entire like deep dive into the history of the band and the anniversary and everything. So yeah, it's coming out tomorrow. And a brand new song, which is cool. It's like the yin and the yang. It's like we're putting out like our old stuff from a beat up box from 25 years ago, but we're also super inspired and excited about the future and about this movie. Like this movie, the process of making it wasn't easy, but it was inspiring. And made us want to write this brand new song called
Nothing changes.
like Nothing Changes. Sorry. And because it's kind of like nothing, I mean, everything changed, but nothing changed at all in
Yeah.
lots of ways, right? It's like we're different, we're in different position in our lives, but at the same time, we still do what we love the most in the world. We still get on stage, try to play our hardest and our best, and try to write the best song. Like that's what's exciting about this band is like we're still trying to write our best song. And we're like 3 minutes away every single time, you know. So that one hopefully is up there for the fans as one of the good ones, you know?
Looking forward to hearing it, and it just seems to all be coming together at the perfect time for a Simple Plan. New documentary, The Kids in the Crowd, streaming on Amazon Prime. Chuck, thanks so much for hanging out with us this afternoon.
Hey, it's my real pleasure. It's good to talk to you again. Thank you so much, huh?